Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. Some really unfortunate news came out a couple of days ago. Looks like Piranha Bytes, which is the developer of such heralded series as Gothic, Risen, and Elix, is in pretty serious danger of being closed by Embracer Group. I don't think we've talked about Embracer Group on the channel before, so let me provide just a little bit of backstory for those who are not already aware. Last year, Embracer purchased a ton of different studios in the hopes of getting a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia, or Savvy Games Group, which is essentially a Saudi Arabia owned organization. For whatever reason, that investment did not go through. And once that occurred, Embracer started doing everything in its power to shut down or offload the companies that it had purchased. And it has just had an absolutely devastating effect on the games industry, from Saints Row developer Volition Games having a massive amount of layoffs and being closing Campfire Cabal, layoffs at Crystal Dynamics. Beamdog has been impacted. They're trying to sell Gearbox Entertainment. Just really widespread impacts to the tune of over 900 employees being laid off over the course of this occurring. And now Piranha Bytes is also being impacted. Now, Piranha Bytes is a developer that's kind of always lived on the edge, right? Because they're considered kind of the kings of Eurojank games, which is an affectionate term for games that have really cool ideas and do something different from most of the other games that you have played. But at the same time, they don't come off as the most polished games. And, sometimes they can borderline feel incomplete. But again, the experience is so unique and so fun that people love them anyway. So consequently, the games Piranha Bytes makes, they don't have the same widespread appeal as opposed to like a Larian Studios or a Bethesda or whoever. But the audience that they've been able to obtain is extremely loyal because they're getting an experience from Piranha Bytes that you can't really get anywhere else. Unfortunately, there were some major missteps that occurred with the launch of Elix 2. First and foremost, it was clear many people, even in their core audience, felt like it was not a significant leap forward from the original Elix game. I can't comment on that. Elix 2 is the only Piranha Bytes game that I've played before, but in my overall review, which I'll have linked in the description below, I kind of said that I felt like there were some features or some things missing from this game that it really needed to have, even though I did overall have a good time. So from a critical standpoint, as far as the word of mouth, which is what Piranha Bytes really needs in order for their games to do well, it didn't happen for Elix 2. And then the other major misstep that they made is they decided to release Elix 2 right around the same time as Elden Ring, which was a baffling decision. Like, nobody could have predicted that Elden Ring would become quite as massive as it did, but everybody knew it would be a big game. And there was no question it was going to overshadow a game like Elix 2. So I honestly have no idea what Piranha Bytes was thinking. But if I remember correctly, Elix 2 came out basically like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks after Elden Ring came out. And it was like, even people who love the company were like, we're not going to play this. There's no way I'm putting down Elden Ring to play this right now. And so consequently, from a critical standpoint, from a word of mouth standpoint, from a sales standpoint, Elix 2 was just a real disappointment for the company. And that's put them in a situation where even though they're being allowed to find publishing rights for Elix 3 because they're supposed to be working on a sequel right now, they're having a lot of trouble finding someone else who wants to bankroll what they're trying to do, because people are looking at the way Elix 2 performed and saying, you guys don't have a real audience. There's no reason for us to invest in this. I've seen multiple people on Twitter talking about Microsoft picking them up and being the ones to kind of save the day here. That's not happening. That's definitely not happening. Like I said, Piranha Bytes, they have a mighty audience. These people really, really love these games, but it's a very small audience. And there's not enough appeal for Piranha Bytes games for Microsoft to look at it and say, this is something that we'd be willing to invest in. It's really unfortunate that this didn't happen in maybe 2025 because there is a remake of the Gothic game, which is Piranha Bytes' original game. That remake is being done by a different studio, and that studio is not impacted by what's going on with Embracer Group. So it would have been nice if maybe the Gothic remake came out, which is going to significantly update the graphics and make it something that a lot more of the modern audience would be willing to play and possibly rejuvenate some of the interest in what Piranha Bytes does. And they could have potentially used what would hopefully be positive press from all of that to try to convince other people to invest in what they have going on. But unfortunately, that's not the way it's all worked out. And they're just in a really, really bad spot right now. At this point, multiple news outlets have reported about what's happening with Piranha Bytes, but it seems like this story kind of first broke on The Pod, which is a famous German podcast. And one of the interesting things that they noted is that it at least appears that Bjorn Pakratz, who is the creative director for Piranha Bytes, and he's been with them since 1999, it seems that he's already left the company because he very, very strongly wanted to continue working on the Elix series and basically doing Elix 3, whereas many other people in the company felt like they should circle back to the Gothic series, probably because there was such a bad taste in everyone's mouth due to how Elix 2 performed. And it seemed like they couldn't come to a mutual agreement, and he's now left. What will be interesting to see is what happens with the German government fund that was provided to Piranha Bytes in order to continue working on the Elix series. They received about 3 million euro in public funding in order to continue working on Elix. And it's not at all clear if they can use that to try at least to stay afloat, or if Germany would essentially pull that money because things kind of seem to be falling apart. So once again, like I said at the top, this is extremely unfortunate. We don't have enough CRPG developers as it is, and to lose one that has been in business for 25 plus years is just absolutely devastating. And it just adds on to the pile of how damaging Embracer Group has been for the video games industry. It's shocking, absolutely shocking that this is legal, that you could just gobble all these companies up and just fire everybody once your miracle shot doesn't work. It's just absolutely baffling to me. So my hope, of course, is that at the end of the day, all of this works out. Either Piranha Bytes is somehow able to stay afloat and continue making games that a certain section of the games industry has really, really come to love. Or if nothing else, maybe the former developers are able to come together and make their own game studio. And once again, we'll be able to get more of those games that really had interesting mechanics. Again, Piranha Bytes was making games you don't get anywhere else. Like, people complained about them and said that they were basically making the same game every few years. But the thing is, it becomes a lot easier to do that when nobody else is making those types of games. Like, what Piranha Bytes was doing, nobody else is really doing. And so it would be unfortunate to lose them. I think Elix 2 was a misstep, but I think I even said in a review, I felt like I'd play a sequel, and I felt like Piranha Bytes would bounce back and do something great the next time around. So definitely, it would be a loss if they went out of business, and I'll definitely continue following this story. Hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.